Welcome to the Orthodentistry Today podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Dan Gurman, an orthodontist on a mission to help general dentists confidently bring orthodontics into any practice model, from solo offices to enterprise-level organizations. Orthodentistry is the future of comprehensive care where general dentistry and orthodontics collaborate. Get ready for expert insights, real-world strategies, and powerful innovations to drive excellence, predictability, and profitability in your practice. Let's dive right in. Today's guest, Jennifer Turner, brings an essential perspective to orthodontic integration. She is the CEO of Hygiene Headquarters Incorporated, and she's one of the most influential voices in dental hygiene today. Jennifer is a globally recognized leader. She's been named one of the most ambitious women in dentistry, and in business, she's an educator of the year by a number of different organizations. This is a critical conversation. You may ask why? It's because hygienists spend more time with patients than anyone else in the practice. Jennifer, it's great to have you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gurman. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm super excited for our conversation today.
Well, Jennifer, let's go back to the beginning. You're a hygienist. Right now, you're running a company and you're helping people all over North America with their practices. Tell us about the very beginning of your journey in dentistry. How did it all start?
Yeah, well, lots of individuals say dentistry or dental hygiene chose them. And I don't want to burst anybody's bubble, but that's not what happened for me. It found me, and I started out as a dental assistant. I worked for an amazing husband and wife dentist who were my champions, my cheerleaders. So I went into dental hygiene and I fell in love with it, caring for patients, being part of a team. But then I quickly realized that clinical dental hygiene is amazing, but there was more for me. I am a Gemini, Dr. Gurman, and I love change. I thrive on this. So I moved into different roles, such as dental hygiene education, dental assisting education, enjoyed that, moved into regulatory roles, Canadian Dental Hygienists Association, and then over into the DSO space. But that was after having a decade of clinical practice. So I certainly don't know it all, but I have a true love and a passion for dental hygiene and for helping those that want to achieve greater in their life. And it's such a gift.
Well, Jennifer, what I'm hearing is that you are hungry for education. You sound like one of those people, and I don't know the zodiac or the astrology, how that fits in and what different signs gravitate that way, but you sound like a really curious person and you like to know, and then you've taken your thirst for knowledge and been able to leverage it so that you can share it. And that is a beautiful thing, and it's a rare talent to be able to communicate. So congratulations on that. Having experienced the wearing of all these different hats, I want to get really personal really fast. Do you miss being a clinician?
I do. I really do. But here's the great thing. I have been in hundreds to almost 1,000 dental practices. And so I have many dental hygiene friends. I'm supporting sometimes chairside with hands-on. I'm in practices. I'm watching everything that goes on. So I feel like I'm in the weeds. But yes, of course, I miss clinical practice, but there just isn't enough hours in the week to do everything that I want to do.
Yeah. And how did you learn how to become the leader of a company? Where'd you get the skills to be able to start all this?
Well, I really think, just like yourself, it comes from within. And when you see something that could maybe have a slight edge or a tweak or a different set of eyes, fresh set of eyes, knowing that you don't know it all, but you certainly can move forward. And so I think it's important when we're scared to jump, that's exactly when we need to try new things and go for it. We may not have all the answers, but we've certainly got the drive to figure it out with our critical thinking skills.
I love that message. I once heard from somebody, I'd like to say I came up with this. I'm really just a compiler and an aggregator of all kinds of great things that I hear and learn. And that is, if you have an idea and you wait until everything is perfect and you are 100% convinced that you're ready to go, you will never go. You'll just be standing at the end of the diving board, looking at the water, thinking about how you're going to make that perfect entry into the water. And it never happens. That advice is classic. And it lends itself so well to all the different things that are going on in dentistry, where dentistry is a learning by doing activity and profession. So I know you've worked with perhaps 1,000 different offices in some capacity. And I think the two of us ought to keep track of how many, because they have the same claim. I've probably been on over 1,000 offices, and you learn a lot by going to visit for sure. Tell us about the dental team. I want to know about people other than the folks called doctor. What do you see as underutilized resources in practices that you visit?
Sure. So this is a really easy answer for me. The team members, they want direction and leadership from the dentist. And I have so many amazing dentist friends out there, but sometimes they don't know how to be that leader to coach everybody in the way they do. And so the teams that I've worked with, they're thirsty and they're hungry for more and they want to please their dentist. And so sometimes it's small things, it's planning team meetings. Let's find out what's working well for everyone and what's not working so well. And when new knowledge comes in, the only way is up. And the one critical piece of this is being accountable for what they're learning. We've all gone to a course by ourselves, one person in the practice. You go back to the office and nobody's excited with you or very little. So when the whole team comes together like a work family, and they're rowing the boat in the same direction and there's accountability and they know where they're going, how to get there. And I believe in celebrations. When a team wins and the doctor wins, they need to celebrate and celebrate together because then that momentum just carries on. The practice grows in multiple ways. Team members are happy. They're not sitting in the parking lot waiting for the last minute to dash in the office door. They're actually excited to come to work. And I feel the momentum carries on. The patients are happy and the practice becomes more profitable. It's a win-win.
You packed so much into that. You got like an entire afternoon of seminar material to really go deep on all of those. I made a couple of notes while you were speaking, and this I'm going to pass on to the doctors that are joining us today. Docs, you got to have clarity and share the clear vision with the team so that all of you can be on the same page. You can hold hands and pursue this common vision with one voice. And if you can give your team that clarity as to what you want and where you want to take your practice, then you've got a whole army of people that want to make that happen. I think so many docs don't communicate exactly what it is that they're looking for. And so they don't get everything out of the team that they could. And I think that's one of the problems with finding a team member is that you have people that are leaving because they really don't know what you want.
Like bang on. I say to my doctor friends, you know what's going on up in your mind and you're super busy, but your team wants to please you. But if they don't know what you want, you can't get upset with them because they can't read your mind. And that's okay if that's the way it is today. So, doctors, you can go home and think about your clear vision, what it is you really want to achieve, and come back and share that message with them. And trust me, they're going to be so happy to know exactly what you want and create an action plan on how to get there together.
Yeah, and I love that advice. And I know what some docs do is they'll say, okay, here's what we're all about. And they write it on a giant board and they put it on the wall. But is that what you're doing? Is that what you're following? So you can put it up there. Your vision isn't what you post on the wall. It's what you are doing. It's the way you and your team are behaving and what your patients would say about your practice. So another item that you brought up, another topic I thought was fabulous. And I want to put a giant spotlight and exclamation mark on this. Here's the scene. Doc goes to a great CE. It's a Friday and a Saturday. And on Sunday, the doc's all pumped up, going to bring new things into the practice, and she or he's going to tell the team about it Monday morning. And they're just as pumped out. They're all excited, and they come in there, and their feet are barely on the ground. They're so excited because they want to share this new initiative that's coming into the practice. And here's what happens. As soon as they bring it up, everybody, the body language is like this. I've been on those huddles. They'll go, oh, no. What did she bring now? What are we doing this week? What's the new shiny thing that we're chasing? And so the solve for that is that your team has to be with you when you're taking on the education. And I've read articles where the number one investment you can make in your practice is educating you and your team. And you without the team can be counterproductive because if the team doesn't embrace what you want to do, you're going to be frustrated as the doc. Anything that you want to add to that? That's what I heard from you. And I'm a firm believer in that, Jennifer.
It's bang on. I've overheard when a doctor went for a weekend course and they're investing in themselves and they're super proud of what they learned. But I've heard team members say, oh, don't worry about it. This will just last about 2 weeks and then it'll go away. And so I truly believe in the inclusiveness of the doctor's vision and their goals and bring the team along for the ride so that you're all rowing the boat in the same direction and nobody feels excluded, right? It's really crystal clear on what's going to happen on that next working day.
Right. Right. You mentioned two words, accountability and celebrating. Which one of those would you tackle first? Do you want to talk about accountability or do you want to talk about celebrating the big wins?
I'm going to talk about accountability if that's okay, because I feel like accountability comes first. We need to be crystal clear. So I truly believe the best teams that succeed, they know what they're accountable for, but not just you need to do X. This is our vision. This is what we expect. These are the steps and education on how we're going to get there. Every step is clearly laid out on the objective. So you feel safe to ask open-ended questions. Maybe you need to ask something again because it didn't quite resonate with you. So safe environment. And then once all those steps have gone through, you can be held accountable. But for practices that try and get to a certain point, but they haven't educated, safe environment, it's okay to ask again, and maybe a checklist that's chair side. Maybe there's some online videos to watch. And then the team is accountable. To me, that's step one. Let's make sure everybody knows what they need to do, how to support one another, and then we achieve that outcome.
Excellent. Before you go to number two, I need some clarity.
Sure.
Talk to me a little bit about safe environment. Help us understand exactly what you mean. Maybe give an example of a safe environment and one that isn't as safe as the doctor might think.
So, a safe environment is where each individual can be themselves. We all learn in a variety of ways, some more visually, some auditory. It takes the average adult, the last study I read, 7 times to truly understand what somebody is saying to us. So, just because we share it once doesn't mean everybody grasps it. So, that safe environment is for me to come to the dentist, the manager, and say, I heard this, but can you please explain it in another way? Without being made to feel like I'm silly or was I not paying attention? And so that's vulnerability. The employee, the team member says, I need some help, and it's okay. Now, the opposite to that is where sometimes team members talk about one another. I don't understand why he or she's not doing this. Or in hygiene, they're not scaling properly. And then there may be a bully in the practice. And then what that does, unfortunately, is it shuts the team down. And I truly believe, Dr. Garman, when we know better, we can do better. And so I like to promote always that safe environment for everyone to learn and to grow together.
Thank you for sharing that. I get it conceptually.
Mhm.
And how rare is it for doctors to really create an environment like that? I think that's twofold. What does the doctor have to do from a behavior standpoint? And what does the doctor have to eliminate from the practice? So it seems like what does the doctor do with the team to help make the environment safe?
And so I've seen many doctors, and I'm so proud of them. And I wouldn't have even thought of this years ago, but many doctors are implementing on their onboarding and then bringing their team members up to speed a no gossip policy. There's no negativity allowed in the practice. So if we work together in clinical practice and I was being negative, you would say, Jennifer, that's not tolerated. And other team members would say, you shouldn't be talking about so and so. It's not tolerated. And it's clear and it's accountable. And I know, I shouldn't be doing that. And I've watched this happen in practices, and I'm so proud of them because they may have a negative Nelly in there. And all of a sudden, it goes away and the team's happier.
I love that answer. Well, you brought back such a great memory. I remember back in the 80s when I was trying to build a great culture within a practice. I didn't have a coach. And I remember that one day I just said, we're writing a creed. And part of the creed was that everybody here agrees not to gossip. And
That's amazing.
we
That's
talked a little bit about it. It really, of all the different parts of our creed, I believe that that one belonged right at the top. It wasn't, but it should have been.
Yeah, it's true because everyone comes to work and we spend more hours at work with our team members than we do with our own families many times. So we want to be happy, right? We want to support one another and grow together. And then, of course, the practice wins.
Very good. Perfect transition into
Okay.
celebrating wins. So tell us what you mean by celebrating wins and when would an office celebrate a win?
So celebrating wins, it's almost like we're children. And so everybody loves something fun. I love spontaneous celebrations. I've had some dentists, not saying everybody needs to do this, but I've seen, okay, you're going to show up at work tomorrow, but we've canceled our patients and we're doing a team event. And the limo showed up and they went to the spa and had a beautiful lunch together. So that was a big win. Maybe they were trying to achieve a very big goal and it took the entire team to reach that goal. But personally, I can share with you one of the celebrations that I had when I was working clinical dentist. It didn't cost the dentist any money, but he wrote me the most beautiful, heartfelt card. And he shared some examples of where I had excelled with the patients in the practice. I still have it in my top drawer of my dresser because it meant that much to me. And I share with dentists all over North America on Amazon, buy a box of cards. Don't just write a generic message, something personal. Don't put a gift card in, but that means more to many people. Now, other doctors are buying gas cards from, Mobile, Esso, all the different gas stations. And team members are thrilled to get a surprise gas card because the price of things are expensive. So you need to know your team and you need to know where you're going, but a variety of celebrations is a wonderful thing.
That is absolutely genius.
Thank you.
Surprise the team. So they
Surprise.
know that they earned a win, but they don't realize it's coming that
Yeah.
day.
Yes, I think it's amazing because they are so excited that they were recognized. And also another celebration that I feel should happen on a regular basis, but not like clockwork. I love when the dentist goes around at the end of the week, the end of the month, whatever it might be, and just says thank you to the team. I hear from team members so many times how that makes them feel. And they're ready to give even more to the practice because the doctor took the time to say thanks for a great week or a great month. So it doesn't have to be grandioso, but something is wonderful.
I so relate to that. I believe that the advice you're giving, it's absolute gold as a recipient of some of the thank yous, say from doctors that I used to refer to. And sometimes UPS drops a box off and you dig through it and you try and figure out who it came from. And it came from someone's surgery practice.
Yes.
It's like, well, I know that the doctor gave a list of names to somebody in the office. They called, they figured out what to order. They order, it gets delivered. Like, okay, thanks. But somebody actually took the time and they wrote me a note.
Right.
It
Hmm.
meant so much more to me. Or somebody looked me in the eye and just said, thank you. Jennifer, your advice is excellent.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you for being so open with the sharing.
You're welcome.
So you've given us these wonderful pearls. And if we stop the show right now,
Nicole,
already won. The
thank
viewers,
you.
they got a lot out of this. We're going to keep going. All right. Um, now that you've talked about things that they can be doing, can you share something that I call a stop opportunity? What do they need to stop doing? What is getting in the way of their growth?
So, getting in the way of growth, where I've seen all over, is anything that we repeatedly do inside a dental practice should have a documented system. So think about when team members say, I'm pregnant, I'm going on mat leave. They're like, yes, but then they're like, no, right? Because all of a sudden a new member's coming in. If they could take a few months and write the systems down that they do every day. And now some practices are going so far as to videoing the systems, videoing the tray setup, videoing how to use a scanner. Maybe it's for the admin team, how to check a patient in, check them out, you name it. But When there is no clarity on expectations of team members, and like I said a little while ago, it takes 7 times for the average adult to hear something. So, this is a great way to have your office manual in a digital format or video format where it's super easy. It's click of the button to go ahead. So, if you don't have anything like that, don't get overwhelmed. Start with when a patient comes into the admin team and start there and just put something on the wall where everybody's writing on, and then those systems are created one system at a time. And it takes a while, but it creates clarity. It really does.
It makes a lot of sense. I recently heard or read an article about the amount of learning that takes place when you read something that is written, that you read it and you retain about 10% of it. When you see it in the form of a video, that you retain most of it, that there's a huge difference in the way people learn between these written manuals versus those video lessons. So it makes total sense to me.
And it's actually pretty fun. Some of the team members have role played. Many practices are having temps come in, whether it's a temp dental hygienist. They start from the outside of the building. They walk up. Here's what our building looks like. Here's the practice. Here's the ops. Here's sterilization. Here's the practice management software that we use. Here's how you call for the doctor to come to do the exam. So that temp can be like, oh, okay, I can do this, right? And like I say, when we know better, we can do better. So when we want each other to win, we set those systems up so that it is a win-win and people feel good working in that practice.
Fantastic. You've shared some great ways on how to do things. I want to transition a little bit into a conversation a little bit more related to clinical work, and that is who you train to have conversations
Mm.
with patients about comprehensive care. So, in other words, in my mind, it was always the hygienist that I wanted to have a conversation with the patient about what they see from an orthodontic standpoint. And you can substitute any of the different disciplines in there. What do you see overall with their care? Restorative, prosto, perio, ortho. Are you limiting those conversations to the hygiene department, or are there other folks on the team that ought to be having conversations with patients?
This is an excellent and much needed question and answer that's out there because I do believe that the clinical team needs to figure out what are we going to say. But I am a big believer in wrapping my arms around that whole team because sometimes the admin team's getting phone calls. Not that they're supposed to speak like a clinician, but they need to understand. So let's start with hygiene. The reason why I feel hygiene needs to have excellent communication with their patients is patients trust us. We have the most time with them inside the operatory where they are vulnerable. They're lying back. It's rather intimate. We're close to them and they feel safe with us. The doctor comes in the room. They explain to the patient the diagnosis. The doctor leaves to go to their patient. Patient turns their head to us and says, Jennifer, what do you think? Should I go ahead and do this? Or they might say, I didn't understand. So, clinical conversations, I believe, each quarter of the year, 4 quarters in the year or 4 times a year, to have a review of clinical conversations, what's working and what's not. And let's use orthodontic cases in the general dentist. How many patients did you have conversations with? And track them. What was your case acceptance? And that's a starting point to say what's working well and what's not, and being honest. And it's not an emotional conversation, it's business. And if you're tracking nothing, you really don't know how well those clinical conversations are going. And I feel like it's role playing, which nobody loves, but it's the only way that we get better and tracking case acceptance. And here comes the celebration when things are working well.
That's great advice. I love the idea of the role playing, and there's really no for that. Do you have any particular advice for practices that have a high sensitivity to sounding salesy?
Yeah.
Personally, I don't think that that's a good thing to have in your practice. The patient should walk out feeling like they're being sold treatments. It's almost like, hey, what are you going to do to me rather than for me?
I love this because I've seen hygienists say right out, Jen, I don't want to sell anything. I'm in healthcare. And I'm like, I don't want you to sell anything. But what we need to fix here in this practice is consistent education. If they don't see the problem, if they don't understand the consequence of if they do nothing, and here's our solution. Option A is this, and option B is this, and maybe option C is do nothing. But patients really need to understand what's happening. Otherwise, we're not trying to sell them anything. We are in healthcare. So, using the proper language, if it's perio related, inflammation, infection, bleeding, just like our general dentists, they don't say you have a little cavity because that minimizes exactly to the patient. Oh, I don't need to do that. So, I really do believe that consistent education ends anybody feeling like a salesperson. Informed consent is given.
Tell us how you use educational tools in communication. In other words, is there a certain technology that's available in dentistry that you embrace for communication? Do you have your teams that you train? Do they play show and tell? They have models, they have pictures.
Sure. So I believe teams that do not have regular meetings and come together to train on these tools. We can't just expect them to know what to do. So we have to slow it down, go back a bit, and maybe have a working lunch and you're training. So, a long time ago, it was intraoral cameras. Can the patient see? Some practices, that's all they have. And that's amazing if they're consistently used. The patient needs to see to believe. And again, that takes away the selling. Then we have a multitude of digital scanners out there on the market. And I always say to the practices, this is great that you had training, but you need more than one training because the first training is technique. How do we scan? And they go from 14 minutes down to 10, down to 5, and they're getting excited. But the next piece is, how do we communicate? What do we see on the scan? Right? That's a whole other training. And then now, Dr. Gurman, we know artificial intelligence is out there and it's in our operatories now as well for dentistry. So I would say don't try everything at once. Pick one, train your team, role play, get really comfortable and help one another. Positive work environment, not ready to jump on them because they did something wrong. Work towards each other's strengths and build on it. And I've seen teams win time and time again, and it works.
That sounds great. So it sounds like some of the technologies that are practical communication tools would be your intraoral scan, where you can show the scans to the patient, intraoral photos, where they can see in the photos. Either one of those seem to be great tools.
It does. And the key to winning with whatever tool you're going to use in your office is you have to measure what matters. So if it's the digital scan, you have to measure how many scans are coming out of each operatory because nobody really just jumps and says, I want to scan every patient. So we have to push each other. If you have 40 patients in a week, what's the bare minimum number of scans you want from those patients that week? And then that's where celebrations again would come in at the end of the month. And from that, what case acceptance do you get from it?
Yeah, you triggered a big question in my mind, and I'm so
Sure.
glad I just remembered it. There seems to be a shortage of hygienists in North America. A lot of offices are looking for a hygienist, and they're having trouble meeting the demand in their practices with all the hygiene appointments. Is there a concept or a model that you've considered that you like or dislike regarding a hygiene assistant to help them be able to get all the work completed within the time allotted and still be able to meet the metrics that you're looking for?
Yeah. So there are many DSOs and practices that are integrating the assisted hygiene model, and it can work. I look at everything from the eyes of the patient. How do we make them feel? So they're coming for an experience. Just like if you go to Starbucks, you get your name written on the cup and people want to feel something. So when assisted hygiene is role played, it's worked out, somebody's the patient, and you go through all of this because practices can bleed out the back door if they don't feel valued and taken care of. So, yes, you can meet your goals and metrics with assisted hygiene, and you also can meet them, with regular dental hygiene in a practice. Scheduling, Dr. Gurman, we could have a whole day on scheduling dental hygiene because it's
Right.
critical. for how it's booked, how they're followed up. But I believe if you're short on a dental hygienist, because we know they are short out there, maybe it's time to integrate assisted hygiene and just remember how that patient feels.
It just reminds me of this huge mistake that a lot of practices make when we go into offices. Usually, I would imagine you're the same. You walk into the office and within seconds, you have a pretty good sense of what to get, right? How does that person that initially sees you walk in the door, how do they behave? And mistake I see a lot of practices make is they think of that as an entry level position sometimes. Oh, well, he's going to get started at the front and they'll kind of figure out what's going. Hey, hold up. That's a patient facing person that could be your quarterback of your entire practice. And I think that the assistant to the hygienist is also one of those really critical positions because they have all the time with the patient. And absent the education, the training, the role playing, and having the right person, it could be a disastrophe. That's a catastrophe and a disaster all wrapped in one, where all of a sudden you don't have a problem staffing your hygiene department because you don't have the patients.
Yes, exactly. And that's where I truly do believe proper training. Sometimes we have to pause, train, educate, and then regroup and begin again. And I know some of my doctor friends, they get worried because it's lost production when, the team needs training. And I always say, please don't worry. You just watch what will happen. The magic happens. The team member feels happy. They learn, they're training, they're working together, and the growth the next month, it automatically happens. But if we do nothing, if we change nothing, nothing will change. So sometimes you have to slow it down before you can speed it up again.
That makes perfect sense. And I think I've mentioned, and I often do, what a great investment it is to stop what you're doing and take more education because the benefit of the education, it's on the shelf. You'll be able to use it for an entire career.
Yeah.
So it's a great investment. I want to talk a little bit about hygiene at scale. You've had experience at some really well-known enterprise models, 123 Dentist, Dental Corp.
Thank
I
you.
know you've got a ton of experience out there. So you're expert with the independent dentist and also all the way up into that enterprise. How are you seeing these enterprise levels, call them DSOs, scale the hygiene programs at multiple locations?
So scaling is a big deal because everyone wants to grow. So I think if you stop thinking about just the processes of what we're doing and really turn it upside down and take care of your people, that's when the real growth happens. So when a DSO is very successful, they care about their people more than the processes. They feel valued. They get education. Maybe it's uniforms. I don't know, a health spending account, whatever it might be. You take the time to train and educate them and elevate the process. But when people feel taken care of, they just go that extra mile. So one size doesn't fit all because we're dealing with people in all the DSOs, all the practices. So scalability happens with the repeatable systems documented, videos, maybe a competition, maybe friendly competition, something that's happening. It really does work. Scalability is not a light switch. It's not overnight. You have to plan out where you want to go, what the growth target is, what are the team members like, and then you work backwards for it. So it's not a one size fits all in a box. You have to go one topic, 1 month, keep supporting, and then build on it like building blocks. But it's systems. Bottom line, it's repeatable systems that are documented.
Well, Jennifer, I know that you have a variety of different ways that you're getting the message out. Seem like you've dedicated yourself to really serving dental practices across North America. Tell us a little bit about some of the different ways that you're doing it. Help us understand a little bit more about Hygiene Headquarters, about some of the speaking gigs that you have. I know you're one of the featured speakers at the Orthodontic Growth Summit coming up in September. Talk to us. Tell us more about what you do and how you get the word out.
Thank you. So I feel that the community has just embraced me. And I'm getting so many great requests to speak at different events across North America. And I'm super excited to come to Cleveland in September and connect in person and have great conversations with like minded individuals. And I think in person, it's pretty awesome to do that. So thank you for that opportunity. In Canada, there's major conferences that I'm at, but I love going on podcasts. I have my own podcast happening. I'm in dental practices. I'm having discovery calls with dentists who are vulnerable and sharing, where they're at. And it's non-judgment. And working with dental hygiene teams and dental hygienists, mentorship programs, you name it. I go back and I think of all the hundreds of practices. And what did I see that sort of didn't quite resonate the best? Or some calls I've gotten from dentists when they're very vulnerable, maybe on they can't afford the next payroll. So, how can we quickly look through what's happening and get a quick win for them? So, it's not a one size fits all. I'm a networker and I love people. So these opportunities just keep coming in practice, online, social media, at my office, at their office, at the conferences. It's just beautiful.
Well, it's really clear that you enjoy what you're doing and you're passionate about it. What's it look like when somebody raises their hand and they go to your website or they call you and they say, help, I want you to come to my practice. Do they hire you for a day? Do they hire you for a year? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, everyone first wants to know what is the price? And I say, well, I would be telling a story if I said to you it's going to be X amount per month because I'm not sure what your concerns are. I need to see it for myself. Remember how we said we go into practice and we can feel things and understand quickly? So before I work with any client, there's always a discovery call. And for many practices, the team and I, we actually like to go in your practice, look at some chart audits, check out the schedule, or we do it via Zoom. We want to give you an honest outcome of where we think we can help your team to get to. And then some dentists have said, can you run 3 team meetings for dental hygiene for us? Absolutely, we can. Others have said, can we work on a 6-month program? For sure, we can. So we figure out the goals, the work back plan, where do you want to achieve? And then we work from there. Others have said, we want you for a year. So I don't box any dentist in. I don't work with contracts. It's a mutual trust and respect. I don't want anyone to feel concerned that, oh, how would I get out of this? No one's asked me to get out of it so far. So something's working well, but I just want everyone to feel comfortable. I want you to grow. And when you win, we win too, because we're so excited for success stories.
Love that answer. It reminds me of being the doctor, right? Use the analogy. You've got a patient, and I always have been teaching folks, people don't just want to hear what the matter is with them. It's more about what matters to you as the patient. And it seems like you're doing that with your client candidates. What is the matter? And what is the matter that means most to you? Where do you want the help and how do you want the help? And really, that's the way we care for patients.
It is. And Dr. Gurman, I should say as well, I actually don't take everyone on as a client. So I do have some criteria. I always have great conversations with the dentist, and I will share that we need you to be the leader that your team needs. And if that's not what you're looking for, or I just don't feel that they're really going to hold their team accountable, because you have to remember, we don't work in your practice. We're external consultants. We're here on demand for you, but I don't want anyone to make an investment knowing they're not going to achieve the goal. And I'd rather be honest and transparent at the beginning and then share it when you're ready, you know exactly where to find us. But more times than not, I'm working with amazing doctors who are ready to go to the next level and take their team where they want to go. And it works.
It's great advice. And I think it holds true with patients. When you're first starting your practice, you will take any patient that shows up at your office. You're just trying to find some work to do. And then when you start to get some white hair, you realize not everybody's woken. It's not a great fit. They may not have a good experience with us. We may not have a good experience with them, because you find that about 2% of your clients or your patients are the ones who give you 98% of the troubles where something comes up and it just isn't a great fit. So really, really good to hear that. And thank you for sharing that. Be a good fit. How do people find you? How do they reach out to you if they want to learn more about you and your programs?
My business is Hygiene Headquarters. That's exactly what we are. Everything dental hygiene related. My email is Jen, Jenn, at hygieneheadquarters.com. And you can find Hygiene Headquarters and myself, Jennifer Turner, on all the social media platforms. And I would love to, have some discovery calls with anyone who's interested in learning on how to elevate or streamline systems for their dental hygiene teams.
What I love about your perspective is that you've really identified and embraced the hidden diamonds that are in every practice. It's the team. And so much focus is on the clinical skills, and they're important. But for the patient experience and for success of the practice, there's so much more to it. Docs, no confusion, absolute clarity. You confuse, you lose. Your team has to have that vision. The team needs the training. They need to go to education. They have to role play. They have to be accountable. And practice leaders find a way to celebrate. There's so much more that we could talk about. I want to do this again. There, it would be fun to do it on a stage. Thanks for joining us on the Orthodentistry Today podcast. Remember, dentistry isn't just about teeth. It's about delivering holistic care to precious people with real lives. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your colleagues. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep transforming lives for good through orthodentistry.